to summarise this recruitment strategy that I've deployed, aptitude is something that you need a level of aptitude, but you can always work on that. If you've got somebody who scores low on attitude, that's something that I've never really been able to change. So aptitude and attitude are the two things that I measure now in recruitment.
This is The Entrepreneur Way with Neil Ball. Unlocking the secrets of successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter at Neil D. Ball. Napoleon Hill said the power of the mastermind is the driving force. To discover how you can unlock the potential in your business using the power of a mastermind, go to mastermindunlimited.com. And now, here is your host, Neil Ball.
Hello, it's Neil Ball here. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Entrepreneur Way. The Entrepreneur Way is about the entrepreneur's journey, the vision, the mindset, the commitment, the sacrifice, failures and successes. I'm so excited to bring you our special guest today, Andy Knowles. But before I introduce you to him, I have a quote for you. A.R. Ammons said, "Questions structure and so, to some extent, predetermine answers." The Entrepreneur Way asks the questions so we all get the insight, inspiration and ideas to apply in our businesses. Andy, welcome to the show. Are you ready to share your version of the Entrepreneur Way with us?
I am. Thank you very much, Neil. It's great to be here.
Thanks for coming on the show, Andy. Andy Knowles is Family First, then Managing Director of JAK Inc. Limited. He started his career in retail management and then moved into FMCG sales with Coca-Cola Enterprises Limited before setting up JAK Inc. in 2005 at the age of 28 with his father. JAK Inc. Limited is the holding company and design agency side of their business, which specialises in graphic design, illustration, web design and online and offline marketing. Their office is located close to the city of Durham, where they employ 15 people, including 4 graphic designers, a customer service team and account managers. He also has 2 other strategic business units, including an online printing business, fullcolorcards.com, and a fun photo to caricature website, billandbenthecartoonmen.com. He is passionate about marketing and delivering extraordinary customer service across their diverse range of business services. He is allergic to negative and thrives at the challenge that anything is possible. Andy, can you provide us with some more insight into your business and personal life to allow us to get to know more about what you do and who you are?
Of course, Neil. So for me, it's all about family first. I'm a proud father of 3 children. I've got quite a sporadic age group. I've got a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and I've got a 17-year-old at the other end of the spectrum. So they're all into different things, but we all have some great family times together. Business-wise, I'm a co-founder alongside my father, John, of a company called JAK Inc. We're a web design and brand agency. We set up in the northeast of England, and this year we also opened a London office.
Okay. And so you make money from doing marketing for other companies. I assume that's what you do. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So both online and offline.
And what do you enjoy most about what you do?
It's a great question, actually, Neil. And for me, it's the best part of my job is meeting lots and lots of interesting people who started off being clients, who we now consider friends of the business. We've seen their business expand. We've seen it grow, and we're now taking that further, scaling up with account managers, BDMs, not only in the northeast, but obviously recently opening the London office. We're starting to get more clients down there as well, and it's good. It's a good feeling.
Mm-hmm. And what is it that drives you?
For me, it's all about that kind of unknown kind of. I want to be successful, but then I'm not actually sure what success looks like. It's kind of, it's just that desire to do the best that I can. Something that has always been within me. Entrepreneurship from 13 to 14-year-old. I remember being at secondary school, and I was that kid who would be renting out videos from a sort of an old school bag in the toilets. I enjoyed making money. I enjoyed that anything was possible. Not necessarily the actual the wealth creation, but just the going out there and doing something different, making money and meeting people and sort of seeing what good that can do. So yeah, it's I think entrepreneurship's always been within me.
Mm-hmm. And how do you relax when you're not working in your business?
I'd love to say that I relax while working out in a gym. Like a lot of business leaders, it's one of the compromises that we make, which is looking after our well-being. But for me, it's about that family time. It's about getting a pizza, sort of kicking back, watching some reality TV show on a Saturday night, laughing, going out for walks. I'm a really big fan of the northeast coastline. It's really beautiful up here. We've got castles, hundreds and hundreds of years old on beaches, and we've got not a lot of people on the beaches. So the 4 or 5 of us we'll go for a nice sort of blustery beach walk, and we'll just talk about what we're going to do, how we're enjoying the weekend, and it's all good. I really love the region, and especially spending time with my family.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any entrepreneurial role models?
I do. I would say that my father's always been an entrepreneurial role model, although my dad was very much into that corporate world. So when I grew up, I was lucky enough to, I would say that we're a middle class family. We always, we had a new build property. We had 1 or 2 holidays a year. Dad drove a company car, went to work in a suit, and I guess that was my role model. I was brought up with very much of a dad working hard, going out to work early, coming back late, working weekends. At the time, being brought up in the 80s, it was he always had a pager stuck to his belt, and every time that went off, he ran to the nearest phone, made a call to his office, and dealt with business. And I just liked that. That role model of a business person to me was success, because as I had a happy childhood. We went on multiple holidays. We enjoyed the good things, and I have great experiences. And for me, that's always what I've wanted to achieve for my family, for my children, to enjoy, blocks of family time together, whether it's holidaying in the UK, holidays abroad, and giving them experiences, but also the becoming a role model myself, to my children, and to peers around me. It's always been that's been something that's been a driver. But I've had a lot of role models around me. Definitely, starting off with my dad. Definitely.
Andy, can we talk about the time before you were an entrepreneur?
Of course.
What difficulties did you have to overcome when you started your business?
So I would say I had a few challenges going back before the business, really. So I kind of, I had this role model in my dad going to work and being this businessman. And then, I had a choice when I left school. I got good grades. For me, grades that were good enough to get into a college or go and do my A-levels. But I made a choice. I took the work route. At the time, it was a YTS. These days, it's an apprenticeship. And my choice was education or work and earn money. And for me, again, it wasn't down to the earning money, although of course that comes in useful. It was the going out into the big world, seeing what I could do, building relationships, etc. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. Probably a year and a bit into a 2-year YTS, I actually started asking, I'm really enjoying this role, but is there going to be a job at the end of it? Because I felt like I was doing my best, working my way towards the end goal being getting taken on as a permanent employee. And at that point, very honestly and brutally honestly, my line manager said, look, Andy, unfortunately there is no job. There never was a job. And, you're going to complete your 2 years, you're going to get experience, but we can't guarantee you any employment. And I took that badly because at the time I felt that I'd made a decision and the end kind of goal was to get a job at the end of that decision. And I felt that I'd let myself down, I'd let my family down at the time. And being sort of 15, 16-year-old, coming on 17, it's a tough time because it's uncertain. You don't know where you're going to go and you don't know what choices you're going to make. So I ended up working on a checkout in a supermarket, and I just went with the philosophy of get your head down, work as hard as you can, you'll get recognised, and good things will come your way. Good things come to those who wait and work hard. So that was my philosophy. So for a couple of years, I was stacking shelves, working on a checkout, working in a warehouse in a busy food retail market, and eventually I did get spotted, and I got put onto a management trainee course, worked my way up further, and then got on to be a store manager, and was very much onto the corporate ladder at that point. I felt that this is something that's working. It's working. It's getting my head down, working hard, and I get recognised. And I felt that was the pattern. So I continued doing that. I went from a few different retail brands, worked my way into different sort of management positions. I had a stint in buying, and I thought, I actually really like this. I've got my own office now. I'm meeting with business development managers or account execs. They're talking to me about their products. I'm deciding whether to take that product and then take it to the market through a series of supermarkets that this company owns. And I actually liked the idea of being sat at the other side of the desk with the flexibility of sort of, driving around, meeting customers, talking about the products. And this, I guess, was going back to my dad going to work in a suit, company car, etc., and decided to start applying for sales jobs. And I was lucky enough to get accepted for a job with Coca-Cola Enterprises. And this was a big thing for me because I went to Leeds for the interview, and I remember it was a big thing getting the train to Leeds, going through the whole interview process. I was very nervous, and I got home after a long sort of round trip, got back home, and the guy rang me and said, Andrew, thank you very much for the interview. I'm really sorry, but you've been unsuccessful. And I asked him why. I just said, why is that? And he said, well, to be honest, Andrew, you just haven't got the qualifications. We're looking for A-levels as a minimum standard for this job role. And I don't know if it was I went into a defensive mode, or I went into if it was passion or if it was sales that kicked in. But I just said, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I can do this job. It never said that on the application. I've got so much life experience with my retailing, my purchasing. I'd really appreciate the opportunity. And he turned. He said, Andy, you've done something that not a lot of people do. You've stood up for yourself. You've turned a negative into a positive. And you know what, Neil? I actually got offered a job. I got offered a job with one of the biggest brands in the world, Coca-Cola Enterprises. And I worked for them for 6 years, built my way up on the corporate ladder, loving my role, great package. I was getting recognised for Salesman of the Year, and things were going really well. And at that point, my dad, unfortunately, went through a series of redundancies and came to me and said, Andy, I've got this business plan. It means giving up your career, and I know how much that means to you, but what do you think? And that was in 2004. Had a good think about it. And at the time, it was a bit of a risk because I'd just been married. I'd just secured the mortgage on our first property. And it was my dad. This is my role model, pitching to me a business plan, and there was no turning back. I said, yeah, let's go for it, let's do it. And that was JAK Inc. That was when it was established in 2004, and I've never looked back.
Okay, thanks for sharing that with us. And did you have any doubts that delayed you starting your business?
There was that doubt in my mind of, certainty is always a factor when you're employed. You're certain that you're going to get your pay at the end of the month. You're certain that there's a set of rules, regulations and policies that you need to follow. And you're certain of your contact strategy. You know who your line manager is, you know who your teammates are, and you know where you're positioned. There's a lot of intangibles. I think that when it came to it, I had to kind of decide on all these intangibles and kind of weigh everything up. Not only that, but it was my nearest and dearest to me were I'd say, look, I'm looking at going into business with my dad, and friends and family who were mostly employed in corporations were pretty sceptical, and they were saying, Andy, are you sure this is the right thing? You've got a great job with a great pension, with a great package. Get your head down. You've got opportunity to move in the career. And it was kind of, whilst I was supported, I just felt there was an underlying, Andy, don't do this. This is a big risk. And actually, it is a big risk because as we know the stats about business startups, and most businesses go out of business within the first 12 months. So those were risks that I didn't really calculate. It was just a very strong gut feeling, working with my dad, and I just went for it.
And what mistakes did you make that slowed your journey?
So we made a lot of mistakes in our first 2 years. A lot of it was maybe employing the wrong people, maybe looking at employment, and instead of employing people in the early days, we needed to get our product out there very quickly, but we didn't necessarily have the experience or knowledge of taking people on. We knew about interviewing skills, but what we didn't realise was that we had to pitch our business to potential employees, because it was just the two of us, and our office was a cafe on a railway station, which is where our first office was. So we had to pitch our business to potential employees, and we actually went down the self-employed route first of all, and we found that was a challenge because we were expecting a permanent member of staff without the risk of taking on a member of staff. All the risk was pretty much on the employee or the self-employed person, albeit the incentives were there. The more they sold, the more they got back in return. But that just didn't work out. But yeah, that's just one mistake really of a few, to be honest, in the first 2 years.
Mm. And what are some of the things that you did before you started your business that'd be helpful tips to some of the listeners who haven't yet taken the first step on the entrepreneur way?
I would say that planning is absolutely essential. We see quite a lot of new business startups come to us very excited about the idea and about the logo generation and about the branding that goes behind the new business, but not necessarily taking a step back and looking at the financial risk. How are they going to, what are they going to grow? How are they going to grow? What are they going to put into place if things don't work out as they expected? Definitely raising finance, looking at a business plan. That's the best piece of advice I could give. Work out your business plan, tweak your business plan, change your business plan right up until the day that you go and see a bank manager or however you're looking at raising finance. Make sure that business plan is done correctly and you've spent a lot of time on it. That to me is the best advice I could give.
All right. And what I'd like to do now is just talk about the entrepreneurial journey a little bit more now, Andy. So do you think culture is important from the beginning in a business?
Yeah, I absolutely do, and it's something that we've been investing in heavily recently. I was lucky enough to get accepted onto a Goldman Sachs business growth program last year, and I thought culture was something that it was a nice to have. It sat in the business plan, but didn't really get sort of listened to or kind of adhered to. after Goldman Sachs, it was essential. You know, we were a family business, and something that is so important to us that we had that family spirit within the business. So our business culture at JAK Inc. has kind of spread out from that family culture. We respect each other. We're very transparent. We are passionate about our region, and we're grateful for the companies and the people around us. So very much it's intrinsic within our business model now, having a culture. And that was on the back of the Goldman Sachs program that I went through. And we looked at companies that, for me, are way up there in terms of culture, and I think no better at this than companies like Zappos. We're a big fan of Zappos. We buy into their culture book every year. We've registered on their website, and we pick up bits of advice and tips around culture. Build a culture, and you'll build a really good team to help build your business.
Absolutely. In fact, if you're interested in Zappos, have you read Tribal Leadership by Dave Logan?
I haven't read Tribal Leadership, actually. No, I've read the Delivering Happiness, or Delivering Happy.
Have you? Well, I think Zappos are in Tribal Leadership quite a lot, I think. So it might be interesting.
I'm making a note of that now, actually. That's good.
It's a good book. Knowing what you know now, is there anything that if you'd known it when you started out would have helped you to shortcut the learning curve?
Yeah, I would say, I waxed lyrical just before about having a business plan, and whilst we had one, it wasn't very, very robust. It was more of a vision. We want to achieve X, Y, and Z within a set period of time. But what we didn't do, and what I would do moving forward, is actually invest in the structure of the business, a very strong vision, and think about actually multiplying that by 10. So whatever we wanted to achieve, just think bigger on a massive scale. And that's something that we didn't do. So we were very much, our vision was to be the biggest independent publication company and print company and web company within the northeast of the UK. Well, actually, we've seen huge growth opportunity since we've thought out that northeast region and moved into to London. We're seeing much more opportunity, and I think that if I could do it all over again, I think I'd probably, as part of our growth strategy, I would say have lots of pockets of regional offices with an experienced sales force.
And how much does gut feeling influence your decisions in your business?
It always did, and going back to when I said that when I started the business with my father, a lot of that was gut feeling. The gut plays a big part, I think, in running a business. You can follow the blueprint, you can follow the business books, and that's something that I'm very passionate about. But ultimately, if you've got a gut feeling, trust it, in my opinion, because chances are you're normally right.
Earlier at the beginning you talked about somebody having, I think it was your dad actually, having a pager and running to phones and things. So this next question is sort of about that. Yeah. Life is made of constant change, whether we like it or not. In fact, many people say the only constant in life is change. And how do you try to keep up with change?
Change is very important to us. Not only, we mentioned culture before, built into our culture is that we embrace change. Because 1 minute we'll be talking about our core business of web design and print, but the next thing we're talking about introducing other brands into the business. And in the past I've had to sell that into the team, but nowadays it's kind of okay. Andy's going off; he's looking at investing in another brand for the business portfolio. We'll just embrace that because we've done things before and it's worked. So embracing change is a big thing as part of our culture. Not only that, it's also something that we've seen a huge change and changing in the curve since 2004 when we started in business. We were. I remember the day that we got our first mobile phones in business, and it was a really nice phone. I think I spent an hour working out its functionality, and I think the only game at the time was Snake. But this was kind of our device that we went out there and we were talking to customers, and we we were building our business on the back of tech. I remember us buying our computers, and we actually got our PCs built by a specialist because we needed a bigger hard drive to cope with the publications and software that we were running on it. Nowadays, we're having an interview now through the internet, where we've built our business. A lot of our business has been built on the internet. Social media obviously emerged, and we've embraced it as a business. Not only have we embraced it, but we've also educated ourselves in how to use it, and we now pass that skill and expertise on to our clients in a teaching capacity or in a management capacity. If people want us to look at social media for them and manage it for them and come up with a content strategy, we'll do that for companies. So I think for me, to summarise, technology is something that has helped grow our business, because the more that technology more technology platforms that are launched, it just gives us more tools for our services in this tech world. So yeah, I embrace this this technical revolution.
And what is your favourite book on entrepreneurialism, business, personal development, leadership, or motivation? And can you tell us why you have chosen it?
Of course, a book that was one of the first books that I read when I was working at Coca-Cola Enterprises was Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's a book that, although it was written in a time that is way back when, it is still so current. I'm always amazed at when I'm reading that book at how relevant it is in today's society. So it's been a big sort of big inspiration in building relationships with my clients, and it's a book that I go to time and time again. In fact, it's always with me. It's actually in my briefcase, and it's my go-to book if I'm sat on a train and just want a little bit of downtime.
A lot of people mention that book. Everyone, when you have a busy life, listening to audiobooks is a great way to expand your knowledge in the time when you may be doing other things, such as driving or when you are at the gym. We have a special offer for you of a free audiobook of your choosing. To choose your free audiobook, go to www.freeaudiobookoffer.com. As long as you've not already signed up, then you will qualify. Andy, what I'd like to do now is speculate about the future a little bit with you. What one thing would you do with your business if you knew that you could not fail?
If I knew I couldn't fail, I would definitely invest in the right people to take the business forward from a sales point of view. So something that we're very strong at JAK Inc. is the operational side of things. We've got a fantastic team of designers, developers, social media executives. So within our hub, we've got skill sets that can be scaled up. I just think that the services and the offering that we've got is so the opportunity is so big to take our services across the UK and into Europe. So again, go back to what I was saying before. If I can think big and then double that feeling, for me it would be to have a regional office within maybe 12 regions of the UK, possibly into Europe, and invest in the right sales force, the right people, create a culture, scale up, and that's something I actually feel very excited about just talking about now.
Good. What skill, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most to double your business?
I would say that we're in a world of we've got a shortage of developers. So people who can code, people who can develop not only front end but the back end of software development. I think if I had a team of people doing that, I don't think we wouldn't have a problem picking up business, because there's a national shortage.
Mm-hmm. And what about a personal skill? Have you got a personal skill that would help you?
Personal skill, I would say that public speaking is something I'd like to do. I'd like to something that is part of my business plan on a personal level has always been to invest in personal development for me, and to be a better dad and to be a better business person. So absolutely, I'd love to be able to sort of share my story, if you like, and talk to other businesses or individuals, especially I guess in schools, because this was the real pinch point that I had was when, obviously, I had a real challenge when I left school. I opted for at the time, the YTS avenue, thinking there was a job at the end of it. And actually, there's not just two options. There's not just the education route and the work route. There is other things. And I think that I just like to reassure, especially, kids that are looking at leaving school who might not be straight A students, that actually let's just weigh up your options here. It's an exciting world. There's a lot going on out there, and just don't discount that, because I think that was my biggest challenge. I thought there was just two options.
In 5 years from now, if a well-known business publication was publishing an article on your business after talking to your customers and suppliers, what would you like it to say?
I like people to think of JAK as an innovative company that started off small, believed that anything was possible, built a very strong brand that helped others, not only in business, but gave back to society in sharing their story and offering advice to business startups to help them grow more quickly with the right tools around them.
We're now at the part of the show where you share 3 golden nuggets with us. Andy, what is your favourite quote and how have you applied it?
My favourite quote comes from Winston Churchill, and it's the never ever give up quote. I love it. It's in a frame in my office. I look at it every single day, and it typifies business. We're gonna get our collars felt. We're gonna have good times. We're gonna have bad times, but in those bad times, just understand that it will get better. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. In the darkest night, is followed by day. Never give up is something that is well and truly embossed within my psyche, and I always pass that on to my guys in business and friends that I meet.
How have you actually applied that in your business?
So there's times when you're at a low point. I remember myself and my father one Christmas. Obviously, it's a time of the year when you financially it's in our business. It drops off in December and it doesn't really pick up till the end of January and February. I remember us sat in the office over Christmas, and we're very passionate people. We're very positive people. I remember us sat there thinking, what's our plan B, Dad? What if this business actually doesn't work out? Do we have a plan B? And the fact that we didn't is something that probably made us stronger until that point. But at that point, we just started actually reviewing our business plan, talking about strategy, and just believing that things will turn out. But you've got to apply change, and it's not a case of just reaching out to the universe and saying that I hope something good happens and hoping that something good will manifest, because it didn't and it doesn't. We had to rework our business plan. We had to apply a strategy. We had to constantly review that strategy, and that moment was actually a real low point. But 3 months later, I think we were breaking records in sales and profitability.
And do you have any favourite online resources that you can share with us?
I'm trying to think what it's called now. There is a podcast, a business podcast, apart from yours, of course. It's an American guy, really, really popular podcast. Young guy he's got a lot of help and advice around startups. I think he's sponsored by 99 Designs. I've forgotten the name. I'm trying to think of any other online resources. Inc.com.
And what is your best advice to other entrepreneurs?
Best advice with entrepreneurs is it's all about the people that you bring into your business. And it's something that I learned, again, something off Goldman Sachs, was that, gut feeling plays a big part, especially bringing people into the business. But something I introduced this year for the first time was, when interviewing new members of staff, look at 2 columns. Look at the aptitude. Can this person do the job that they say they can do? Have they benchmarked their performance against other members of people in their team in previous jobs, and can they prove that and demonstrate that? And have they got the qualifications that backs up what they say they can do? Now that's one column and that I look at. The other side of that is people's attitude. What sort of attitude do they have? Do you see them fitting into your business? Are they a positive person? If you're interviewing them for a sales development job, for example, well, you want somebody who's going to be positive. And you know, the end of it, and to summarise this recruitment strategy that I've deployed, aptitude is something that you need a level of aptitude, but you can always work on that. If you've got somebody who scores low on attitude, that's something that I've never really been able to change. Mm-hmm. So aptitude and attitude are the two things that I measure now in recruitment.
Okay, here's something for you to think about. In my podcast interview with Casey Eberhardt, he actually says that people hire on skills and fire on attitude.
Well, there you go.
There you go, you see exactly what you said. Everyone, if you didn't manage to get a note of Andy's favourite resource or his favourite book, you can find the links on Andy's show notes page. Just go to theentrepreneurway.com and search for Andy or Andy Knowles in the search box. Andy, is there anything else that you'd like to add about your business?
So yeah, it's a really exciting time at JAK Inc. We're taking on more and more web development projects. We've got a fantastic team around us. The three things that I would say that we're very, very strong on is web design, graphic design, and print. They're the three areas that we specialise in, and they all grow arms and legs, but it always comes back to web design and print.
Andy, it's been an honour having you on the show. You've really shared with us some great wisdom and given us some great tips and really shared your knowledge. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Neil. It's been a great experience. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Entrepreneur Way. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter @Neil D. Ball.